What's up, everybody? Welcome on in. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at. We got episode 4 today of the podcast for you, and we got a whole lot to get into. A lot of stuff going down this week. Also, just want to throw this out at the beginning of the podcast that this week's podcast is going to be a little bit heavier. We're going to be touching on a lot of the events and stuff going down this week in the world, and not as light as sometimes it is, or either on our streams or in the podcast. So just giving you a heads up, and also just letting you know that in general with our podcast going forth, I'm going to be there. I don't want to have to shy away from issues and topics and stuff on our podcast, and I want to be a little bit more open and able to have those kind of conversations when they come up. Not that I'm trying to make it a focus of the podcast, but I really want to just keep it open and be able to talk about whatever without any restrictions, for entertainment's sake, essentially. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Yeah, we got a pretty good podcast for you. Not pretty good. We have a great podcast for you this week. And let me say, we have our first ever unofficial sponsor of the podcast this week, from Duchess, who has been a member of our community for a long time now. And Duchess is sponsoring this stream with Color Crew. Color Crew is a self-published coloring book that was initially created as an art therapy coloring book. It could be used as an outlet for anyone that suffers from anxiety, wants to decompress, or anyone that just loves to color. Color Crew is full of intricate designs to provide hours of coloring content, as well as a few pages to draw your own images on. You can find the book, as well as other prints and stickers, available on duchesslol.com. That is DuchessLol.com. A nice little wholesome sponsor for our first one ever. Shoutouts to Duchess. Putting out cool stuff into the world, into the community. And yeah, let's get into a little bit of what's been going on for us this past week with in regards to streaming. We have been playing a large amount of different indie games and stuff this week. Some really, really cool titles. Kind of wasn't the game plan heading into this week of streams, but that's kind of where we ended up. Yeah, we so this week in the at night we started playing Darkest Dungeon. We did that on Sunday night or Monday night, and that was a lot of fun. It was a bit hard, but I totally see the appeal of that game. It's a game that's been out for a while now, but you get to name your characters after people. So we were naming all the characters after people in chat, and there's a lot of room for like upgrading your people. Essentially, what you're doing, if you're not familiar with the game, you get a group of people, different classes and stuff, and you are going through these dungeons and battling monsters, and each player has its own class and their own like moves and stuff. It is a turn-based game. I don't know, the art style is really cool. The aesthetic is really cool. And like I said, there's a lot of room for with RPG elements to upgrade your people and power them up or get new characters. I don't know. Darkest Dungeon was a lot of fun, and I'm surprised that I missed out on it for so long. I've seen people play it on stream for years, and I don't really know exactly what it was that drew me to it this week. Actually, that's a lie. I do know what drew me to it this week. Shoutouts to Spundy Bob, member of our community, who was streaming, and I popped in to say hi and check them out, and they were streaming it, and I was like, yo, this is actually dope. This looks like a dope game. I'm going to try it. We're pulling the trigger on Darkest Dungeon. So shoutouts to Spundy Bob. In addition to that, on our morning streams, we've been continuing with our Thanks What Is It tour and going through and playing a bunch of games that people have gifted me over the years that I didn't really ask for. But most of the time when people gift games, it's because it's something they love, and they want me to check out, and they wanted me to experience. So this week I got to play through Limbo, we did that. That was great. Limbo was a lot of fun. For anybody who doesn't know what Limbo is, it's a puzzle platformer. It's a very what is the word? It's a very like ambient vibe to it. Like there's not a lot of like there's no really talking in it. There's no music. It's all kind of you're just playing as a small child or little boy or little dude, and you're going through and trying to figure out all these puzzles in this really, really unique setting. And there was stuff where like gravity was flipping, and it's also got like a really dark vibe to it too, where like there's like people dying and like creatures killing you, and you it has like Super Meat Boy level of death. You can like run into saws and stuff. Limbo I know has also been out for a hot minute, and was a lot of fun to play through. I also heard, I didn't know this, but apparently it has a spiritual successor called Inside, which I literally know nothing about. I don't even know. Maybe I would recognize it if I saw a trailer or something. But after playing Limbo, I would definitely be interested in playing Inside. So yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that, and maybe that'll be something we play later in the year. We'll see. In addition to Limbo, yesterday, like I said, sometimes I get sent games that are great and that people love. And sometimes I get sent games that people just want to see me play, not because they love them, but sometimes because they're bad. And so yesterday, we played through a bit of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon for PS2. And you know what? I gotta say that, like, from my experience with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, the video game, I've never seen the movie. The game was not actually as bad as I thought it was going to be. When I was looking it up, it was on many people's like worst game of like all time list, or like worst PS2 games, what have you. And like I could totally see why it was. The action very repetitive. The sound effects very repetitive. The camera was horrible. But there was something about it that that for me was just like, it was kind of entertaining, and I didn't hate it right away. So it got to a point where that did not hold up. We got about, I don't know, 3 or 4 missions through, and then we got to a point where we kept like falling into the fog, and it was just really hard. That was the other thing about it too, is like another reason why I see why people don't like it. There's a lot of things that are really kind of janky in that game. There's like wall running and a lot of like movement stuff that doesn't get explained to you well, and they're kind of just like, well, this is how you got to get out, but they don't tell you. And so it's like when you've got to figure that out on your own, and then also the movement itself is kind of like hard to pull off. It makes for a troubling experience, but yeah, not as bad as I thought it was going to be ultimately. Shout outs to Vox Futuro for sending us Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon on PS2. I'm glad that we were able to experience it and have it not be a complete shit show. So, and I think that just leaves us with the last game. Actually, that's not true. Not the last game, but the game that I played this week that I fell in love with, I am enjoying so much right now, which I have to talk about. We have to spend some time talking about, is Dracula Genesis. It's available on Steam. I think, according to the wiki, it's also available on PS4 and Xbox One. But it is a roguelike game. And it's an isometric. It's got an isometric camera view. For me, it almost feels like a mix of like Enter the Gun. I was gonna say Super Meat Boy. It feels like a mix of Enter the Gungeon mixed with Zombies Ate My Neighbors, but a roguelike. And I don't know, some of the things that I like about it, there is a ridiculous amount of loot in that game. You're able to level up your character. There's different characters to pick from, so you automatically have different abilities. And like movement abilities. There's like one character has a double jump, and it's a twin stick shooter, so like a double jump is really kind of wild to see there. There's, one character has a dash, and then as you get into the game, you unlock your character is able to level up, and then essentially unlock new slots to get more guns, and then every gun you get shoots very differently. They're all very unique, and in addition to that, you can get modifiers for the guns that allow them to basically be fired even like wilder. So you just have all these sorts of like super unique setups every time you go on a run and every time you play through the game. I found that I had many memorable runs that all felt super, super different. And then in addition to that, they've got, there's like passive abilities, which also help to enhance the experience and change things up. And outside of those, the relics and stuff, there's like equipable backpacks and headgear, and there's I don't know. I feel like I'm like 15, 20 hours into this game, and I still feel like I'm just scratching the surface on it. There's all sorts of like awesome like little shops and like mini game stuff that gets opened up over time. It's a game that I didn't know anything about. I'd never heard of it until I saw one of the devs from Hollow Knight tweet about it. And after I saw that, I was like, wow, this does look dope. Let me go ahead and check it out. It was on sale on Steam for $10 off of, I think it normally is like 15. And the sale was ending this week. I think they just extended the sale. And I cannot recommend it enough. Dracula Genesis has been an absolute blast to play, and the other thing is, so like we started a run. They've got 4 different universes, essentially. Three of the 4 are locked. You start off with the first one. It's got a couple levels. There's a boss at the end of every level. Very similar to like Enter the Gungeon or a lot of other roguelikes. A lot of variety in the bosses too. On top of that, like I think out of all the bosses, I'm pretty sure that we probably ran through at least like 15 or 20 different bosses during our runs, and only seen the same ones like a small handful of times. But you beat a level, you beat the boss, rinse and repeat until you get to the end. And then as you beat the first universe, you unlock the second universe, which is essentially the same thing but longer, harder. You're also, another really cool thing they do in that game to keep it fresh is as you rank up, you're unlocking new enemies, which at first feels like, why am I getting rewarded by having different and harder enemies come at me? Like, that doesn't feel like a solid reward. But like ultimately, when it comes down to like the gameplay, being able to play through it on my 10th time and see much different enemies than I saw through that weren't available is a really, really cool experience. And I gotta say, something that I don't see a lot in those type of games, but I think does a great job of keeping it feeling fresh. So yeah, I would say expect more Dracula Genesis from us this week, or not this week. This is the end of our week, but unless you're listening on YouTube, then maybe expect it. But yeah, expect more Dracula Genesis in the future. In general, it's a lot of fun, and you should go pick it up as well. The last indie game, last but not least, was Thursday night's PC building simulator stream that we did, and I gotta say, I'm pretty proud of myself for not being someone who knows how to put PCs together. I feel like I did a pretty good job running the PC shop and getting people their parts that they needed. Everything swapped out. I may have forgotten thermal paste several times. I may have kept a couple people's PCI slots and covers and stuff. But we overall got really good reviews from our customers. It didn't end great. We kind of had to end the stream with me completely gutting one of my customers' computers and selling the parts off. And then I kind of just closed shop and left. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen when we go back to PC Building Simulator. But really cool game. I think chat had a good time with it. And I don't know. I think everybody had a good time. It was a very different type of stream that we don't usually do. So I don't know. It was a lot of fun though. A lot of great indie games this week. I'm not sure what we're gonna get into next week as far as games wise. We kind of wrapped up Cyberpunk, put the kibosh on that. I've got some ideas for some stuff going forth. And what I want to do regards to like just content or game content. And some cooler, larger, overarching ideas. But which we'll get into some of those at the end of this episode or near the end. Yeah, I don't know. Just stay tuned, I guess. If there's something if you want to see me return to playing something that I already ran through, let me know. Discord, Twitter, all that always works. Just yell at me. Maybe we'll see more Mario Maker this week. Who knows? But yeah, so with that being said, with all that, the games that we've been playing through, like I said, I want to switch up the format this week a little bit. And normally the past couple weeks on our podcast, we've gone through and talked kind of about stuff going on in our streams or in our lives, and then kind of switch over into news and then go to questions. This time we got a little bit of heavier topics this week, so I don't want to end on that note. So we're gonna get into some of that, and then we'll get into some of our plans going forth after that, and hopefully try to pull us back. But yeah. Some Twitch news this week. Twitch has removed the PogChamp emote, which was once a huge and has been a huge piece of imagery for Twitch. The PogChamp face, for those who are unfamiliar, maybe you're watching on YouTube, not super familiar with Twitch, is a face of the expression it's meant to give off is just overall excitement or surprise and or hype, and it's supposed to bring all that kind of stuff to the table. But this week, they removed it after there was some controversial tweets from the person whose face it was, who was the face of PogChamp, who is Gutex. And I made sure to pull up the tweet just so that we could go over it. But the tweet read, "Will there be civil unrest for the woman who was executed inside the Capitol today, or will the hashtag MAGA martyr die in vain?" The video will be aired soon on band.video, the resistance.video, whatever, and it sounds pretty gruesome. So basically, Gutex sent out a tweet, asking for more civil unrest. And Twitch, I gotta say, Twitch has been under a lot of flack for a lot of stuff recently, and they come under scrutiny all the time. I think this was a good move by Twitch to remove the emote and not associate themselves with it any longer. I haven't looked too much into Gutex's stuff recently post Twitch, but I know there's been other sorts of controversial takes and stuff from like COVID, deniability, and things of that nature. But yeah, this one has been, I don't know, it's the next level. And I don't know, I think Twitch has made the right move. We've here in our channel on Twitch on stream, I've gone through and deleted the Franker face stuff that was associated with it. So it'll be interesting to see what Twitch does in terms of replacing the PogChamp emote. They also put out a tweet kind of addressing it, which they said, "We've made the decision to remove the PogChamp emote following statements from the face of the emote encouraging further violence after what took place in the Capitol today. We want the sentiment and use the Pog to live on. Its meaning is much bigger than the person depicted of image itself, and it has a big place in Twitch culture. However, we can't in good conscience continue to enable the image. We will work with the community to design a new emote for the most hype moments on Twitch." And so yeah, it'll be interesting. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter reaching out and trying to shoot their shot with Twitch trying to be the new face, the new face of PogChamp. I think the most interesting take I heard, or most interesting idea, I guess, that I heard was somebody had suggested compiling a large database of a bunch of different streamers' faces, and so that when people use PogChamp, it kind of cycles through those randomly, which I thought was a pretty cool idea and kind of shows a sense of community, essentially. So it'll be interesting to see what Twitch does and how fast they act on it, too. But yeah. So, yeah, and all of that kind of leads us to our next topic, which, like I said before we started recording, this has been kind of a wild one for me to prepare for, as we don't usually get into stuff this heavy, whether it be on stream or past in the podcast. But unfortunately, this week, there were events at the Capitol building that went down. I believe it was, 2 days ago? Yesterday? Time has kind of just been a blur since it's gone down. The events went down on Wednesday, yeah, and it was right after our morning stream. I didn't see anything about it until I had gotten done streaming, and then after that, it was just doom scrolling on Twitter and kind of just trying to be informed about what's going on, but also not trying to let it consume me entirely, which is how I feel it is for a lot of people. At one point, I had to put it down and just, be like, enough is enough, and let me go spend some time with my son. But man, it was wild to sit there and watch it unfold and escalate and see how it started and where it went to. The amount of people there showing up and it goes from people gathering to people making their way into the Capitol building, broken windows and breaking in, and in some cases, once they got into the building, there's videos of them, police trying to hold them back and kind of, just kind of getting overwhelmed and then making their way in there. And it was just like extremely stressful, and to see all that kind of stuff going down, and it's just, I don't know. At the end of the day, all of it, to me, extremely disgusting. All that taking place, it's really hard to talk about now. I'm even getting kind of like taken aback by it. But, as we sit here today, on Friday, the 8th, as we record this, there's now a tally of 5 people dead, and that just, it's extremely sad. It's and the harder part about it is it just feels like it was like all for what, like it to me, it just feels like it all came out of this place, and it all really, really stems from a place of fanaticism with the president and his followers. And if it sounded like a lot of the people who were there, we're kind of wrapping it under, well, we want to get the truth. We want to maintain a fair and just election process, which personally I agree with. I agree with trying to maintain the fairness and, the sanctity, I guess, of our election process. It's very important. But like, all of that, in my opinion, gets handled in the courts. You have evidence. They let them provide the evidence. Let the courts decide that out. Which, by the way, all that has happened many times. But to see it go from there to a place where people are gathering and trying to break in to literally stop Congress from voting on it, it's sickening. And it's hard. It feels like doesn't feel like Trump has been stoking the flames, with everything for the past 4 years, and everything from his rhetoric to blatant lying, and dog whistles, and just all of it, and just see it come to a head and see for death to be involved is just it's very, very disheartening and tragic and sad. And honestly, in my opinion, like there's definitely blood on his hands with for Trump and for trying to keep this going, for rallying the people there. You know, um, it's a rough one. I'm not gonna lie. For me, it would be nice to see some form of accountability here. I'm also not gonna hold my breath on that. And one thing I keep coming back to and thinking about personally, um, is if Trump had given his concession speech 2 days earlier, are those 5 people not dead? I mean, does that save the lives of those 5 people? And it's just like, when he's been calling for, talking about, the election being stole from him and how everything's not right and people feeling like they need to defend that. It's just really, really hard. It's really hard to see all that go down. In addition to that, there's a lot of other things, a lot of other interesting things about everything that's been going on. In that, it's interesting to see people defending what happened at the Capitol based on the riots with the Black Lives Matter movement this year. And I personally think this goes without saying, but like they're two very different causes. Obviously, the Black Lives Matter, movement is fighting for equality, trying to make change to a lot of systems and processes that are inherently flawed. And the actions this week are because a candidate didn't win, and because, again, they're stoking the flames, talking about the election being stolen and fraudulent stuff, which is has been seen in court and thrown out. It's just it's wild. And so yeah, it's interesting to see people defending that and trying to compare the two, because it's like they're completely not the same. Another interesting thing to me in all of this would be like the Blue Lives Matter take, which personally to me is, a fucking ridiculous thing to begin with. As it's been co-opted off of the back of the Black Lives Matter movement. But it's interesting for people who had that take, and wanted to support Blue Lives Matter, and keep throwing quotes around it, air quotes around it. But especially now, considering that an officer is dead. An officer is one of the 5 who is no longer with us as of today. There was a woman who was shot. 3 people later who they said died of medical complications, I believe was the term they used. I might be wrong on that. And then a police officer. So yeah, it's just like there's that aspect of it. And also just kind of going back to people comparing it to the Black Lives Matter movement and stuff. It's wild to me to see that people are like who continue to deny the inequality that is taking place in our world right now, and especially here in America. It's like, you go back and you look at the protests this year, and how many of them unnecessarily got escalated to violence, including when the president wanted to go get a photo op at the church across the street. And, and to see how that contrasts with like the police effort, or the reaction, when people are attempting and succeeding in breaking into the Capitol building where Congress works, and to see the very, very different, just like the differences there. It's wild. I don't see how you can deny that there is inequality when it comes to that, I mean, it's interesting and honestly very scary to think about how differently like that would have gone, if the people involved were black, if they weren't a large group of white people, because it would have gone so much differently. We know that, like, we've seen it this year. it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, you know. Like I said, there's a lot of different different aspects to it, a lot of different layers to this. For me, it's a lot for me to wrap my head around. I talked about this again a little bit before we started recording the podcast, but normally when I've gone in the past 3 weeks, we're still new in this, but the past like 3 weeks, I've gone into the podcast writing small bullet points. As I sat here, we were actually late starting up stream. I was sitting here trying to figure out the best way to get my thoughts out and not talk in circles or forget anything that I felt like was important to say. And so like a lot of this I had to write out, you know, and it's just, there's a much larger conversation that I'm even going to be able to go into today in this time in this podcast. But I felt like I needed to talk about it. So, I don't know. It's been a lot. These are not all my final thoughts on it. This is kind of just a snapshot of where my head's at with it now. You know, and also another thing too, in addition to just simply talking about, you know, and covering the events of what happened, my thoughts on that. There's another thing that I want to be extremely clear with my community about, and all of you, you know, anybody out there watching. My friend Grant Pooh Bear yesterday put out I thought a pretty well-written tweet that kind of expressed his thoughts, and I agreed with. I 100% agreed with what he had to say. But I know there's a lot of you who aren't on Twitter and may not have seen it or may not have heard it. So I'm just letting everyone know where I stand on all this. And that's basically that, you know, if you're out there listening to this, whether you're watching the live version of this on Twitch or you're watching this on YouTube, wherever it is, if you in any way support the actions of what happened this week, straight up, I don't want you watching my content. I don't want you in our community. I don't want you involved. You know, I don't want you wearing our logos. I don't want you wearing anything with our imagery, anything I don't want you associated with anything I put my name on. Anything that I put out, I don't want you to be involved in any of it. So there's no room for debate in my mind. There's no talking about it. Nothing. That's it. It's end all be all. That's it. So that's kind of where I'll put it with that. And if that, honestly, if you're listening to that and that's you, if you're sitting on that side of the fence right now, do us both a favor, and please don't come talk to me about it. Please don't try to come explain about it or explain it out. Just do us both a favor and just kindly exit, because it's reached a point where I'm past patience and energy to put into that, and trying to explain to somebody why something is bad. That is very, very easy to see. So it's a lot to get out, y'all. It is a lot to get out. But honestly, that's how I feel. And it's something that I don't get to express regularly on our streams. So I don't know. I'm glad that we took a little time, and I want to emphasize that a very little time. As much as we've said here, there's still so much to say and everything. But yeah, I don't know. Where it's at now, you know, and where everything is at this point, Trump yesterday put out a video acknowledging for the first time, you know, that there's a new leadership coming in and there's going to be a transition taking place. And honestly, all that I can hope for in a big, larger general sense right now is that we see less violence come out of that. And that we see less, you know, aggression and less like death because of it. Just senseless death. Just it's been really, really hard this week, y'all. It's been very hard. So that's kind of been my thoughts on that. And you know, going forward, you know, not with just whatever Trump acknowledging the new administration and everything. I want to get out of talking this. This is probably one of the hardest transitions I will have to ever do in streaming, podcast career, whatever. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit more. I want to talk a little bit more about you know, things we got going here and things we got going forward. in general here on streams or in our community. 2021's new year, trying to bring some good into the world, trying to do some good things. One thing we are doing that we've kind of started up, and it popped off right after we recorded last week's podcast, was an idea that we were talking about in Twitch chat. For those of you who don't know, I have a passion for cooking and enjoy it a lot. And I've come to find out that there's a lot of people in our community who do as well. And so I thought it would be a really cool idea and a cool community effort to throw together a community cookbook where people can send in their recipes, something, whatever, maybe it's your favorite thing to cook, maybe it's the thing you think you cook best, whatever it may be. Send in your recipes, and we'd have everybody's stuff together, and ultimately get it styled up, looking nice. And the idea would be to, at the end of the day, have a big collection of these things, have it all available, online for free for anybody to go pick up. And then if somebody wants a hardcover version, a physical copy, I'd like to look into getting those made. And on top of that, donating all the proceeds to charity. I actually need to talk to my good friend Yeba Deba. I need to hit her up, who I think is in our chat right now, but has done a lot of work with charity, and recently has done work with the Twitch Chicago team for the Chicago Greater Food Drive. Is definitely one I'm looking at. I don't know if that's going to be for sure the one I go with, but I think I'd like to do something food drive related, especially since it's dealing with food. So I don't know. I think it's going to be fun. We're going to be taking submissions till the end of January. If you want to do it, you can get into our Discord, go into the food channel Discord. There's a pinned message linking to a Google Doc where you can go submit your stuff. If you got any questions on it, you can reach out to Cassandra, who is a mod for us in our Twitch chat. And I'll make sure to include the link to the Discord. As always, it's always there, but I make sure this time to include it as well underneath the YouTube video. So there's that. Another thing that we've got planned for this year coming up is a very new idea that we just came up with yesterday, and I was kind of shopping it around to chat and the mods. Yesterday, we talked about it a little bit early in the podcast. I was playing Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And as I was playing that, I got to thinking, I haven't seen this movie. I've been critiqued recently for not seeing Die Hard, which I did see. I saw it on Christmas. It's a good movie. I like it. But I've been receiving a lot of critique lately because I'm not a really big movie person at all. There's so many movies I grew up, I missed. Whether it was just in general non-interest or, not seeing it because, my family didn't watch it. I feel like either, and my memory may be skewed a little bit, I feel like my family either didn't watch a lot of action movies, or if they did, either I didn't care or they were like, no, you're too young at this point. You can't. So, so there's a lot of stuff I missed, but the idea, as we figure out a set of time, a certain number of weeks, whatever it may be, 6, 8 weeks, maybe 4, 6. We'll see how it goes. And then every week, we take the weekend, we pick a movie to watch. And obviously, this has to be planned out ahead of time, but we pick a movie to watch. And then the next week on our morning streams, I'll go through and play the video game based on that movie. So, with that, there are many, many, many games to choose from and movies to choose from. And I think it could be a kind of cool thing to do with our community, especially with, the fact that we're normally off on the weekends. I already see chat popping off with plenty of ideas. Indiana Jones has definitely been one. I've never seen Indiana Jones, ever. I said it. I have not seen Indiana Jones, any of them. But yeah, we played open season on PS2. Yeah, so there especially back in like the Super Nintendo Sega game, there's so many movies where they made a video game based off of the movie that felt extremely cash grabby and also just turned out to not be good. So I think it would be cool to like go through, see a movie, for me, maybe for the first time, for you, maybe for the first time, if you're out there, and then go and play the game and kind of just talk about a little bit about the similarities, the differences, and just, I don't know. I think it'll be a fun experience. It doesn't have to be a super long thing, but I think it would be something cool. I'm always up for trying new stuff and trying new types of events and stuff in order, try to bring new content for all of you. So we'll see how that goes, but I think we're going to go through with that. So if you've got any ideas for games you want to see me play, games/movies that you think should make that list, feel free to post them in our Discord, or, if you're watching on YouTube, you can leave them in the comments. Let you know what I think, whether I've seen it or not. I'd like to stick, as far as the games, I'd like to have it be not just in the same franchise, right? Like, so if we're playing, give me a good one. If we watch, I don't know. If we watch, I'll say Home Alone. If we watch Home Alone, we're not just, let's say Lord of the Rings. There we go. That's a better one. If we watch Lord of the Rings, we're going to play the actual Lord of the Rings games that was associated with the movies, not just like Shadow of Mordor or like something in the franchise. Like it's the game based off the movie. To me, that's what makes it. So we'll see. Yeah, Home Alone actually does make the list. There is a Home Alone game. I have played that game many times. It is very, very much not like the movie at all. And I think would make a great candidate. I almost feel like I don't want to include it because I played it so much, but I think it would make it's a good watch movie, and I think it would make for a funny playthrough. So, yeah, there's Matrix, there's all sorts of stuff. I also would rather, I know some people were suggesting that we play a game and then we watch a movie based off the game. And I think if we do it in that order, I think that's a little bit more painful, because I think that's worse for you all. Because I get to play a good game and then I force everybody to watch a shitty movie for 6 weeks in a row. I don't know how well that's going to hold up. Not saying we can't do it at all, but I don't want that to be the status quo. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so I'm excited for that. We got the cookbook thing we're working on. We got the movie game night weekend. I'm not sure. We'll figure out something cool to call it, something that makes sense and explains what it is we're doing. Yeah, and outside of that, I think that pretty much wraps it up for us. I would say the only other thing that before we get into questions here to talk about is this past week I had a situation where one of my monitors in my streaming setup went out. It came back on, so all is well. But for a while there, I was kind of crowdsourcing information about new monitors to get and stuff, and I haven't looked for a new monitor in a while or done like thorough research. And oh boy, there is so many different things to consider and compare that I have now found out and seen when it comes to looking for new monitors. At this point, honestly, I'm kind of just thankful that this is back on for now, and I could take some time to actually sit down and think about it and consider it. But I think ultimately soon, I want to invest back into our streams and make the move to 4K, gaming. Unfortunately, at Twitch they don't offer 4K streaming at the moment. But with the consoles being here, the PS5, the Xbox One, Twitch being in large a gaming site where people stream video games, you have to assume that at some point they're going to start looking into doing it. I don't know really where we're at technology wise with it, how viable that is. Maybe that's something else to consider, but I think I'm at the point where I'd like to maybe look into getting myself ready for 4K streaming. I'm looking currently at new capture cards. I'm looking at either probably the Elgato 4K 60 Mark II, the 4K 60 Pro Mark II, or the AverMedia Live Gamer 4K, I think it's called. I think both of those would do what I wanted them to do, at a reasonable price point. So, yeah, we'll see. As far as monitors, yeah, I think I'm just gonna wait though. There's one that I've kind of been looking at that I think would fit all the specs That's honestly really the problem with all the monitors. It just feels like it's very well. You can have this, that, or the other, and if you want to get everything, it's an exorbitant amount of money. It's a lot. And also, I feel like there's a lot of it for where the technology is just now coming out. A lot concerning like the HDMI 2.1 stuff. I think Acer is somebody linked me to Acer recently. I think it was Guilty Camel in chat, linked us to an Acer monitor that's coming out sometime soon. That's going to seemingly have all the things. So it'll be interesting to see how many other of the big companies, the LGs, the Samsungs and stuff are going to cater to that, and how many are going to put out monitors in that same kind of category. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for us. As far as wrapping stuff up this week, honestly, I think this podcast ended up going a little bit shorter. I thought it was going to go much longer. So, cool. Let's jump into some of our questions that you all sent in, for me to answer this week. Our first question comes from Bodega Kitty. Shout out to Bodega Kitty, helped out with the Men of Mario Maker calendar, putting that all together. But Bodega Kitty says, as you started streaming and getting more popular, do you get compared to other gamers a lot? And if so, what kind of comparisons are the most annoying? Example, Beast finished this level in 2 attempts. You suck ass, Cliffy. So, yes, it does happen. I will say personally, it happens less now that I play less Mario Maker on the regular. I feel like when you're playing one game all the time, you're much more likely to get those comparisons. Now that I've moved on to kind of streaming a variety of stuff, I don't get that as much. But that's just my experience. I know that there are plenty of people who do. And I've definitely gotten all the comparisons when it comes to Mario Maker. I mean, sometimes you even get them, you get them from your friends. I know when you can go check out one of our older YouTube videos, me beating Space Pig's Area 51. It's the hardest Mario Maker level I've ever played and beaten. And it took me 41 plus hours to do it. And I'm pretty sure it was Grand Pooh Bear who let me know that Beast beat that level in 13 minutes. So, yeah, you hear about it. The talk goes like you're not gonna not know about what's going on around you. But I don't know. I try not to let it get to me. I could totally see it being irritating. If I played Mario Maker full time all the time, getting under my skin. And the thing is, like, there can only really be one the best, right, person ever. And not everybody's going to be that. So unless you're that one person who is the best, and honestly, a lot of that is arguable, everybody's going to get it. So I'm sure that there's plenty. I'm sure even, the top of the top are getting it. And I don't know. I just try not to let it bother me too much to the best of my ability. But I'm just kind of lucky that I don't have to deal with that now after moving into variety streaming. So there's that. I think that answers that. As far as like what kind of comparisons are the most annoying, I think yeah, you hit it on the head, Bodega Kitty. Just like, this person's better than you. I want you to know that. Like, all right, dog. Appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by. That's how it goes. Shout out to Bodega Kitty again. Thank you for the question. I really, really appreciate it. And our next question, we should know what. I was debating on whether or not we should go into both of these. Jen sent in 2 questions. I was only going to get into one, but I feel like I would be shorting the people if I didn't answer them both, especially since I said I would answer one of them this week if it got asked. So, let's go with the greasy one first. Let's go with the dirty dirt, the dirt McGirt. Last week on our podcast, I talked about this is so embarrassing. I talked about an experience I had. I was talking about my first memories of gaming ever And in that, I was talking about it being between one of two times, which my dad actually called me this week and was kind of clarifying some times for me. So thanks, Dad, for helping me figure out exactly which one came first. But yeah, so in one of those two scenarios, it involved me at one of my earliest gaming memories involved me being at my mother's second wedding, and I almost said pallbearer. That's not right. The ring boy, small man who brings ring bearer. I think it's ring bearer. Okay, ring bearer. That was me. And so to give you the full details on what happened, and I did not think I would be sharing this with people, but here we are. Prior to the wedding, I'm at my grandmother's house getting ready. Everybody's getting ready for the wedding, everybody getting their stuff on, getting set up for the day, whatever. There was some watermelon at my grandmother's house. There was a lot of watermelon. I consumed a lot of watermelon. More watermelon than I probably should have. As far as how old I was, I think I was probably like somewhere between 4 and 6. I wish I remember the year offhand. Consumed a lot of watermelon. And went to the wedding, did the thing, did my ring bearer thing, performed the duties, wears an all-white suit to the wedding. And I will tell you that a lot of watermelon and an all-white suit don't always mix well. Needless to say, without getting too discussing, at the reception, may have had some digestive issues. There may have been, the white suit may not have been so white, anymore, on the backside. And somebody noticed at some point and was like, that gentleman needs to leave. And that gentleman was me. So, my grandmother took me home. I got showered. Everything was fine. But yeah, that's how that went for me. And now you all know a little bit more about my life. Again, I don't know how ready I was to share that story with everybody, but it's a long time ago. I don't really I don't hold it against myself. I don't really stress about it too much. Oftentimes forget it happened. Not until we brought it up last week did it even occur to me in many years. So, yeah, we'll see. Maybe next time I'm ring bearer, I'll just watch the amount of watermelon I eat. I'll try to learn from my mistakes. That's pretty much it. So thank you, Jen Bell, for remembering that I said I would honor that and bringing that question to my inbox. Thank you. I appreciate that. But Jen had a second question this week, so I want to answer that too. Jen says, do you have any goals to make your video game experience better in 2021? Examples of new equipment, new strats, new approaches, new friends to beat instead of just Ike, etc. So first off, I'd like all of my friends to know that they could catch these hands when it comes to gaming. I find myself to be a little bit more competitive with Ike, but I will give anybody the go who wants it, and it doesn't matter what game. I'll play whatever. I got no shame in my game or for my games. It's whatever. There's plenty of friends. I have so many friends that I didn't get to do stuff with last year, content-wise, and new friends, and I'm always looking to collaborate with people. A lot of times it just comes down to scheduling, whether it be, things we already have planned or things they already have planned, but there's been a lot of stuff going on that I haven't been able to get to. I know there's a large group of our friends doing a Minecraft server right now. Shout outs to them. I hope they're having a great time. Was something I felt like I couldn't commit to time wise, so I didn't ask about it. There's gonna be things you do, things you get to do, and things you don't get to do, and that's just kind of how life works out, especially with streaming. Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking for definitely on the table as far as people to stream with. In fact, I'd like to mention, probably for the first time, it's kind of in the works, but I think it's pretty much worth talking about it. There was somebody who I'm a mutual with on Twitter that was talking. I saw them reaching out to somebody about playing Mortal Kombat 11 and just saying like, hey, do you want to play? I'm looking for people to play. I'm getting back into it. And I was like, I wasn't even in the conversation. I just jumped in and I was like, excuse me. I would like to play video games. If you are looking for people to play Mortal Kombat with, I would love to do that. I've also been looking for people to play Mortal Kombat with. So, they reached out to me and we're like, yo, what day you want to do this? And we kind of worked it out. So I think next Friday, we're going to be having like a Mortal Kombat playing. I'm not sure if the idea is for us to try to get better and like learning techniques or stuff. We're just going to have a session for a while. That's going to be awesome. So shout outs to Black Oni on Twitter and on Twitch, who I've not done anything with collaboration wise before, but I'm super excited for it. Very, very excited for it. So I hope you all enjoy that too. And if there's somebody in mind you want me to do something with, stream wise, content wise, whatever, feel free to let me know. Yell at me and be like, hey, I need you and this person to make thing now. I'm always open. So, yeah, as far as that, as far as new approaches and strats, I mean, we've got the movie game thing we're working on now. I'm always trying to innovate and doing my best to try to innovate and bring you new ideas to the table, things that are a little bit outside of the box, things that are more exciting, things that are like larger events. Last year, for the first time ever, we did the Finally Tour, where I played through a bunch of games that I'd never played before, games that were super well revered. I think that went well, so we're going to bring that back this year. We just got done. We're just nearing the end of our Thanks What Is It event, where people send in games that I didn't really ask for, but I'm going through and streaming those. So I'm just trying to, I'll bring back the things that I think go over well. And then in addition to that, try to bring you the wildest shit I can think of. Always, whether it's the Chicago House of Underground Darts with me, Ike, and Ross, or we had this past year we had a Hot Ones like event. That's not super original, but we were able to get the community involved with it, and everybody got to send in their picks and vote on them and stuff. So like, I don't know. I will continue to do that. I will continue to give you what you want, what you need, and also what I think you want and you need. Both of those. And then equipment, as far as new equipment, yeah, I talked a little bit about it. Looking to upgrade monitors and get into 4K stuff, and always trying to improve and get you all the best quality content I can here. 4K stuff, possibly, other stuff that's on the table. Maybe a nicer camera at some point. I don't think our camera is bad, but I've seen some pretty sexy DSLR cameras out there and stuff. So there's always room to improve. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be a better year. I believe. I feel like, especially in terms of stream content, I feel pretty good heading into this new year. With what we're gonna be doing. So, yeah. We've got a good game plan ahead of us, and we've got we have a great community behind us as well. So, really none of this gets done without all of you. I just want to let you all know I appreciate you. I thank you very much. I think that is also going to probably wrap it up for us for this week's podcast, episode 4 of the podcast, the still yet to be named podcast. But honestly, I think I'm starting to get a little bit closer to what I want the name the podcast. Again, if you have ideas, feel free to send in suggestions, but especially this week. And, we got into some heavier stuff this week, and I think where I want to take this is I want to just be as open with you as possible, as open, as transparent. And, in addition to gaming on Twitch, I provide a place of escapism, essentially, where people can kind of get away from the doom scrolling, away from whatever's going on, and kind of have that spot to come hang out and watch me be goofy as hell and do that. But I think I'd like to be less over the top in terms of entertainment, dial the entertainment back a little bit, still try my best. Obviously want to keep the entertainment there, but not let the entertainment cut out other things that are a lot more real to me. I'd like to get more into talking about the challenges of being a father. For those of you who know that I am, the challenges of dealing with mental health disorders and anxiety and things that I personally suffer with, things that I can talk on. I feel knowledgeable enough, based off of my own experiences to talk on things that would otherwise in our Twitch streams be, kind of bring the mood down a little bit, whatever. I want to be open with all of you and just kind of let you know where I'm coming from and give you my honest opinions and thoughts and talk about it. And again, it's not always going to be the dark and dreary. It's not always going to be that. Still obviously talking about pop culture and things we're doing and all that too. But yeah, I don't know. If you all enjoyed this, you will probably continue to enjoy what we're going to be doing with the podcast in terms of that. Just expect more, essentially. Expect to find out more and know more that you wouldn't normally get. So yeah, thank you all very much for listening. Shout outs again to Duchess, DuchessLOL.com. Make sure to go pick up your awesome coloring books. Shout outs to our first official, unofficial sponsor of this week's podcast. And yeah, I'll see you next time.